Guitarist because I used to love the Beatles and I wanted to be John Lennon, so
You sound like
I
him.
bought this. Well, my brother bought me a guitar that was for 50 pence, which was like, I think 25 cents or something, but it only had 2 strings on it, so I learned all the Beatles songs playing just on 2 strings, and I think that's why I became a bass player, because
So one thing I got to ask you, coming from guitar to playing bass, were there any, there were some really great bass players around that time. Were any of them influential, like Jack Bruce or Nick Simper or Glenn Cornett?
You said it, Jack Bruce.
Jack Bruce.
He was like my idol, and I used to love Cream. I saw them 3 times before they got really big at the local clubs around Birmingham, and everybody was talking about Eric Clapton, so I thought I've got to go and see Eric Clapton. And this one night, everybody was standing in front of Eric Clapton. There was nobody in front of Jack Bruce, so I was standing in front of Jack Bruce, and I was just like, wow! I didn't even know you could do that with a bass guitar, and that's what turned me on to playing bass.
And the interesting thing was Jack Bruce was also a main lyricist for Cream as well. So another bass player that actually writes the lyrics.
Yeah, he wrote quite a few of them, yeah, because he was the main singer in Cream.
So as far as like, when you first started playing bass, were there any kind of pedals that were at your disposal? I know there was like muff pedals and things to make your bass sound heavier. Was there any particular type of bass pedal that you started using? That you
I didn't have a bass pedal until we did the very first album. We recorded the first album in 2 days, including recording, overdubbing and mixing. Only took 2 days, and I did the intro. Did the intro to NIB, and I thought need something else, and I borrowed Tony's wah-wah pedal, and that's where I came up with the wah-wah intro.
Nice. So how long were you in the studio with the first album? I mean, how prepared were you to actually record?
We'd never been in a proper studio before. We were on the way from Birmingham, where we lived. We were going to Switzerland for 6 weeks, in Switzerland, Germany, and I think Sweden, for a 6-week club tour. And we had 2 days on the way down from Birmingham. We stopped in at London at this studio, and we literally had 2 days to do the whole album. And we just set up as if it was a live show, and they recorded it, and that was it. First Black Sabbath album.
So it wasn't. It was recorded somewhat live. It wasn't singularly.
Totally live, completely live on the first day. Then the second day was some guitar solo overdubs. Ozzy'd lost his voice on the first day because he was singing 7 or 8 songs or whatever it was. And by the end of that first day, he couldn't even speak, so he went in and did, I think it was Warning. There was a song called Warning on the first album, and he overdid that, put his vocals on that, and that was it. We got back in the van and off to Switzerland.
At what point did you know that the band was important and actually going to change pretty much the face of heavy metal music, or actually if that wasn't even such a thing back then?
Well, we didn't. We thought we'd last about 2 or 3 years at the most. When we put the first album out, everybody completely slagged it in the press. They hated us, calling us Satanists and all this crap, because they didn't really listen to the lyrics, and so we started. We'd read all these terrible reviews and think, oh God, we must be terrible. But the fans loved us, and the more we played, the bigger the crowds got, and the fans really stayed with us.
So did you find much of a problem transitioning from playing smaller venues to larger venues? Because stadiums are a completely different animal. I mean, it probably didn't really happen overnight, but still, there is that process of change.
The thing was, we put the first album out, which was sold well in England. I think it did I think it stayed in the album charts for like over 9 months. So we went from small clubs to theatres in England, but then when we came to America, we were back in the small clubs, and even school end of term dances and things like that. And so it was like a huge shock to go. You think you're building yourself up, and then you come to America and you have to start from the ground level again. But it probably wasn't until maybe the third album that we started playing with 20,000 seaters and stuff.
So I know you were involved with a lot of lyrics. Where did those lyrics come from, and how did you refine them? Were there any other songwriters that you emulated?
Nope, there was nobody else.
Well, do you remember the first song you wrote?
Maybe I liked some of Bob Dylan's lyrics, which War Pigs was sort of based on one of his songs, and but no, it's just being raised up incredibly Catholic, so that was bashed into me. So a lot of it was based on religion. And I used to read a lot of books about mysticism, and plus where I was from, where the band was from, it was a multicultural society, and next door to me was a Hindu family. Next door to the other side was a Muslim family, and we all got on great together, and I was learning about their religions. And so I think that was the basis of my original lyrics, was from religion, believe it or not. And plus, my brothers had all been in the army, and the Vietnamese War was like raging. And we all thought that we were going to get caught up in the Vietnam War. And so, and when we played in Germany, we played at all these American bases where the troops would be coming back from Vietnam. And halfway between Vietnam and back to home in USA, there was these American bases in Germany. So we used to play a lot there. And I always remember we did the song War Pigs, and these soldiers came up and went, man, that's exactly what we've been thinking, and like what we've been protesting about. And they were telling us about all these terrible things that were happening in Vietnam and stuff like that. So that's what War Pigs was about all these politicians sending, working class people to go to war for them, for nothing.
It's just amazing. To this day, that song is still poignant. I mean, a lot of the music, it's just timeless. That's why people still listen to Black Sabbath.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, war still goes on. It never stops.
So I heard a rumor that you came up with the name Black Sabbath. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Well, how did that?
There was a cinema that we used to go to, and there was a film called Black Sabbath that came out. And I was too young to see it at the time, but my brother went to see it, and he was going, oh, you've got to see this film, it's really horrific and everything. And I loved the name Black Sabbath, and I thought, if I ever have a band, I'm going to call it Black Sabbath. and that, when we got together, when the original 4 members of Black Sabbath got together, we were called Earth at the beginning. And we turned up at this one gig, and there was all these old women and old men and everything, all with all the suits and the party dresses on. And we're going, what the hell's this? And the guy, we started playing, and we were doing all playing Black Sabbath and well, not Paranoid then, NIB, all this heavy stuff. And the guy came up and went, stop. We're going, what's the matter? He says, you're not Earth. And apparently there was another Earth, and they had a pop song in the charts, and it was all like old dance music and stuff. So we went, here's your money, now piss off. And so, we knew that we had to change the name, and we'd just written the first song called Black Sabbath, and I said, let's just call the band Black Sabbath after the first thing that we'd written. and that was it.
So I got to ask you too about that first album, Black Sabbath, a really haunting cover. Whose idea was it for that photograph for the cover of the first Black Sabbath?
Not ours. We saw it, I think, the day before it came out. And in England, it was a gatefold cover, and when you opened it, there was an inverted cross on the inside. And I went, oh no, if my dad sees this, he's going to kill me. Because my parents were ultra Catholics, and I was still living at home at the time. So I sort of preempted them and left home. Because I just couldn't let them see the cover, the album cover.
Did you have any input in any of the future album covers?
Oh yeah, after that, yeah. Well, not Paranoid, because we thought it was a terrible cover.
Where did that cover come from?
Our manager at the time that we quickly left. I still don't know what the cover represents. Some guy dressed up with a sword.
It is a terrible cover.
It is the worst cover ever.
So after that, you were able to start coming up with your own ideas for covers?
Well, at least we were showing them.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Once we got away from our first manager, who didn't really know what he was doing, we got this other manager in. He was a good manager, but he completely ripped us off. And that's the price you have to pay for getting a good manager. But yeah, from then on we were shown, we were given a choice of what the album sleeves looked like.
So let's start from like the early Sabbath albums all the way to 13. How is your creative process changed with writing songs? Have you changed the way you've written songs over the years?
Yeah, I mean the last Sabbath album, that was mainly Tony in his own studio in England, came up with practically all the music kind of thing. And then me and Ozzy got involved. Ozzy came up with the vocal lines, and I still wrote the lyrics. I think there was 2 or 3 songs on 13 that Ozzy wrote the lyrics for, and the rest was I wrote them. But it was like the lyrics that Ozzy left doing all the vocals until the last couple of weeks of 13. So, and then I didn't want to write the lyrics. I was assuming that he'd write all the lyrics, and of course, I get a phone call saying, "Geezer, you come and write the lyrics for me." And, so I was, oh God, and we had like 15 songs done, and I was literally writing them one night, going into the studio, showing them to Ozzy, he'd sing them, then I'd go home, write the next set of lyrics. And it's just chaos in the end. I don't even understand what I was writing.
Did you have like music to base the writing on?
Oh yeah, all the music was done. It's
so you just basically
the final things, the vocals, and what's his name? Rick Rubin produced the album allegedly. And he kept saying, "No, Geezer's got to write the lyrics. He's the Shakespeare of heavy metal lyrics."
Oh, that's nice.
God. And so he wouldn't let anybody else write the lyrics apart from the ones that were totally refused to write the songs to, and that was it.
Well, you played with multiple lineups over the years. What quality and collaborations did you really find special? Were there other people that you played with that you really kind of felt a kinship with musically?
Well, nobody could beat the original band, the 4 of us. And we sort of stuck with that formula, and we didn't change that until Ozzy left the band and Ronnie James Dio came in, and thankfully Ronnie James Dio wrote his own lyrics, so I could concentrate on my bass playing then. And so that totally changed the way we did it. Tony brought in a keyboard player as well, so sort of gave the whole thing a different direction.
Do you feel that, have you ever listened to any music after Black Sabbath and hear some of the bass players and say, that guy learned something from me? Do you ever think that you ever influenced a whole series of other bass players?
I never thought that, but a lot of bass players tell me that I've influenced them. But I've always thought I was a very average player. So,
I wouldn't say that. I mean, a lot of you kind of defined like a darker melodic I mean, you're really going into some unknown territory with the bass on a lot of those tunes.
But when I started playing bass, I had Tony and Bill to teach me, you know, not teach me, to sort of be there. They didn't criticise me, they just let me get on with it, even though they knew that I'd never played a bass before. And I sort of just followed what they were doing, so they really gave me a lot of encouragement, and I owe it to them, really.
What was the first bass guitar that you bought? I know you had the 6-string, but what was the first real bass that you had?
Well, I bought a top 20 bass for £20, which is like, I think $40 at the time, and that was okay for the first, until we came to record the album, and then like the producer said, you can't play with that. And so you go and get a Fender, and so my mum gave me the money to go and buy my first Fender bass, because it was like £100, which is like ridiculous, and yeah, a hell of a lot of money, especially when I had like £2 left in my pocket, and she gave me a life savings, and went out and bought my first proper bass, Fender Precision.
And what was the first amplifier that you used? That was pretty limited back then, Ampex?
Well, there was an amp company in Birmingham called, what was it called now? And Tony still uses those, Laney, they're called Laney's, and it was an up-and-coming Birmingham company, because we couldn't afford Marshalls or anything like that. And this Birmingham company said, you know, we'll give you a discount if you use our gear, and that's what we used, Laney. But I couldn't afford two speakers, so I went and bought this one cabinet, and it only had 3 speakers in, with a great big hole where the 4th speaker should have been, and that's what I used on the first album, and that's what gave me the distorted kind of sound.
So I got to ask you, is there a particular Sabbath track or bass line in particular that is kind of like your go-to, your favorite, that you really, really kind of go to?
No, not really.
Okay.
It's just so many of them.
But I mean, sometimes like you hear a lot of those bass lines, they're really memorable. Did those just come to you naturally then?
Well, a lot of the main part was following what Tony was doing, following Tony's riff, and then like embellishing it, you know, to make it stand out more. And no, there's not one particular one. Probably maybe War Pigs.
Yeah. We'll get some questions from the audience. One more question about in the studio, about how many takes, say like on, let's just say Paranoid, for example. How many takes would you guys do till you think you've got it right? I mean, was it an arduous process of like 10, 20 takes? Or was there a lot of things like that? That's really...
Well, we were only given, on the Paranoid album, we only had 5 days to do the whole thing. And Paranoid was, Tony wrote it while we went to lunch. He wrote the riff. Because the producer says, you've got to have at least 3 or 4 minutes for this to be called an album. And we went, oh, you're joking, we've done all the songs that we've got. So we went out to lunch, and Tony stayed in the studio, and he was like, I think I might have something. We came back in, he'd written Paranoid, the riff, and Ozzy quickly put his vocal line to it. I scribbled down the lyrics, Bill did the drums, and it was done in like maybe 10 minutes.
That's amazing, amazing how some things like fall together. Let's get some questions from the audience. And by the way, thanks for doing this. We like having you here. This is a bunch of all right for me. Appreciate it. Question right over there.
Hey Geezer, how you doing?
Hello.
Quick question for you. How was recording Volume 4 in the studio? It's my favorite record by you guys.
It was a bit of a pain in the rump. Because the first 3 albums we had a proper producer, and they were very basically produced. The first album was 2 days, Paranoid was 5 days, Master of Reality was I think 10 days. So we thought, oh, we can produce it ourselves. We don't need a producer. So we did it in at that time. We started seeing some money coming in because the first three albums had sold quite a lot, and at that time the tax in England was 95%. So we were like getting all this money coming in and then giving it straight to the government, and so the manager says, you got to go leave England to do your next album. So we went to LA at the record plant, and we had all the songs written, and it's like we go in the studio and it's like, oh, what do we do now? So we sort of busked our way through that album, and of course the manager was there, so he took all the credit for producing it, and he wasn't even in the studio most of the time. It was quite a long process, and you know, because the first three albums were done so fast, we thought there can't be much to its producing, and little did we know.
Fantastic record.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, some good songs.
Hey Geezer, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. I kind of wanted to ask, from what I understand, the song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath was written about, like, your guys' point of view when you found out about the tragic Bloody Sunday incident in Ireland. I just was wondering if you could elaborate a little on that?
The actual title came from that, what happened in Ireland, but the lyrics were about getting away from the management at the time, because on that album we just found out that we were being completely ripped off, and we got this huge tax bill from the English government, and we're going, we haven't earned that kind of money. We found out that we had earned it, but the manager had kept it, and so Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath is about, you know, that whole thing, going through life, thinking that you're famous and you've got all this wealth and everything, and then finally find out you've got nothing in the bank, and that's what it was about, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath.
Next question, please. Way in the middle? Yeah. There you go.
Come on down.
There you go. Didn't feel very much like that. I have to ask you, because I've heard so many different things. What does NIB stand for?
Nativity in Black. But that's what we thought about after, but really, it was about Bill's beard. Does it look like a pen nib? So we called it after Bill's beard, and then everybody got this thing saying, oh, it must be Nativity in Black because they're all Satanists. So, yeah, that's what it's about.
Hello, Gizmo. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. My main question is, do you have any advice for any future bassists that want to pick up a bass guitar and just play?
Just pick up a bass guitar and play. You know, it's hard for me to give any advice because there's so many things going on these days. It's so hard to get into the music business. But stay within your office. I always think if you can't, I've always tried to play thumb bass, you know, and I just can't do it. So I had to come to the realisation there's some things that I can't do on bass. And so I think be good at what you know how to do, rather than try and reach and try and play every kind of style. I mean, some people can, but it's very rare. So I always think pick your genre that you want to play in and be good at that.
Okay, another question.
Hey Geez, I just want to start off by saying much love. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us.
Thank you.
My question is, do you have any more Geezer albums in the tank?
Oh gosh, I've got tons of stuff. Since we finished the last Sabbath show, I've just been going through all the stuff that I've written since the 80s onwards and updating everything. And what held me back before, I didn't have a singer when I'm at home, but AI came along. So all my songs now, I've updated them all, and I'm using an AI singer to bring all the lyrics out. So now I can take it to singers that I'm going to be working with and go, this is what I want on the album, and so they've got a better idea. Before I was just like playing the bass riff or something, going, can you sing to this? And they'll be going, yeah. And but it's so much better now because you can sit in the studio and like do everything on AI and then take it to proper musicians and let them take over. So it's really helped me. I mean, a lot of people think it's cheating, but
when you first start writing a song, kind of like what's your process of writing a song? And this is also like a weird question. So I have this print camera and I took a couple pictures. If you want, I could actually like print you a picture out, and I kind of want to give you a picture as my point. Is that okay? Like if you don't want it, those a cool answer too.
what? What do you mean you've got a picture now?
Okay, what's your songwriting process?
Your songwriting process.
With Sabbath, we'd sit down in a room together and just jam and jam and jam until somebody came up with something that we could work with. Once we had like a good riff to write to, we'd finish the music part of it. Ozzy would sing his vocal line, then I'd write the lyrics. So it mainly came from jamming.
Hi, Geezer. It's an honor. You mentioned Earth earlier, and I know there was a cease and desist that was sent out on a release of early demo tapes. Can you talk a little bit about what was on there, and do you see any circumstances where they might be released eventually?
I'm not sure. I mean, Sharon had it stopped because she, because the original manager, before we'd even done the first album, had taken the demos and he wanted to put them. He's had them all like polished up and everything, and he wanted to put it out as a Sabbath album, and it isn't. It's not even an Earth album. It's a Polka Talk, which is their very original band, and it's stuff that you've heard a million times on YouTube, but it's just like a better produced one.
All right, over there in the back. Got time for about 3 more questions.
Hi, Geezer. What do you think's missing in today's live music scene that used to exist back in your day?
What?
What do you think's missing in today's live music scene that used to exist back in your day?
It's hard. There's not as many clubs now where you can go and play to people. And I think it's a lot harder now, because when we were starting out, there was like only one heavy band, which was us, one sort of heavy band, which is Led Zeppelin, one reasonably heavy band, which is Deep Purple, and that was it really. You didn't really have any competition or anything. Now there's like 1 million heavy metal bands, 1 million hard rock bands, and it's so much harder now to get through. And of course the radio, all they care about is like Taylor Swift and things like that.
Do you want to stand? I'll hold the mic.
Hi, Geezer. I was wondering if you could tell us what's your wildest rock and roll story, or potentially your most this is Spinal Tap moment.
But I there. This is Spinal Tap. I think I wrote in my book, it was the best one ever, was when we were in Munich in Germany, and we all had lunch. And I don't know whether you've been to Munich and had the beer there. The beer is like about 100 times more strong than American beer. So we were having lunch and necking all these great big flagons of drinking beer, German beer. So Ozzy gets completely pissed, and sitting there having dinner with the record people, Ozzy says, I've got to have a piss. So he does it right there, all on the floor. So we carried on, like, the record people are going, what? And so we carried on eating it, and Ozzy goes, oh. I've got to have a crap. So he walk into the elevator, and as he's waiting for the elevator, he's like this. And a coachload of American tourists came into reception. And they're all checking in reception. Meanwhile, the elevator stops. Ozzy gets on the elevator, but instead of going up, it went down. And all the tourists were like waiting for the elevator to come back up. It came back up, and Ozzy's got his trousers down around his ankles. And he's done great big crap all over the lift. And the tourists are going. And the elevator doors closed. It's like, they're like going, what the hell have we let ourselves into?
We're in the back.
Okay, we got one more question. Geezer, you'll be headed back to your table to sign after this
Yes.
because you had your photo up early. So if you actually, we'll get 2 more questions. We'll get yours and yours, and you're all 3 of them. We cool?
Mr. Geezer, Butler, as he said, it's an honor. I wrote this question down. After the farewell concert this year, I saw that you connected briefly with Dom, Youngblood. With everything happening so fast around that time, did you two get a chance to actually talk at all? I'm really curious what kind of music might happen if you ever got into the studio together.
With Youngblood?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually went out to dinner with him, me and Gloria and my wife, when he played Salt Lake City. We got a house in Salt Lake City, and he did a gig there. And we took him out to dinner, and he actually paid for it. And he's a really great guy. He really is. He loved Ozzy, and you can see now he's done a song with Aerosmith, and it's #1 everywhere. So he's brilliant.
Let's get these 2 last questions. Right? Oh, you didn't finish?
Hi, Geezer. Thank you very much for the autograph earlier, by the way. I just had a question since you brought it up. You were going back through your catalog of stuff that you've written over the years and stuff that you haven't used for music yet. Is it possible we could see future collaborations with Tony or Bill in the future?
I was actually going to do Tony's got this great album that he's doing right at the moment. He's just in the process, I think he's in the process of mixing it right now, so it should be out sometime next year. He's got this great singer from Sweden on it. And he wanted me to do 3 bass tracks, but he wanted me to do them in England, and I can't go to England until June. So if he can hang on that long, I might collaborate with him back in June, if he can wait that long.
Hi, I'm just curious, what are the lyrics about in Fairies Wear Boots?
We did this gig in a place called Weston Supermare in England, and I think right before we wrote that song, and we did the show, and of course we never got paid, and the management had said specifically to me, go to the people, get the money, and you're okay. You should be getting the money on that night. Of course, I went to the promoter. I've already sent the money to your manager. And I go, oh no. And we didn't have any money to pay for gas to get back up to Birmingham in the car. And so I went out to the telephone box outside, and there was this big gang of skinheads. And skinheads hated anybody with long hair back in England, back in those days. So I went in the phone box to call the manager, and I was surrounded by all these skinheads going, Grebo, Grebo! That's what they used to call you if you had long hair. They were going to kill me, basically. And so I thought, how the hell am I going to get out of this? And I sort of pretended to be on the phone, pushed the phone door up, ran back into the gig. And Tony says, what did Jim say? Who's the manager? And I said, I couldn't get through. There's like about 20 skinheads outside trying to kill me. And Tony goes, what? And Tony loved fighting. So Tony we all get microphone stands. Ozzy had a hammer. I had a screwdriver. Bill had this club. We all go out. Said, "Come on then, if you want to fight." And they all like got us. We were hammering it. Ozzy got this one guy. This one guy got Ozzy's hair, pulling him back, and Ozzy got this claw hammer right into his shoulder, and the guy, "Ah!" And Bill was beating hell out of everybody. I stabbed somebody with a screwdriver.
Fuck yeah!
And they all, "Come on, they all ran off. They all went, "Come on, let's go and get our friends and everything," because we absolutely massacred them. So we jumped in the car, and we only had enough petrol to go like 20 miles. So we got 20 miles away, and that was it. We had to, I think Tony phoned his uncle to come and get us. And so, yeah.
Wow.
Good fight, though.
Good question.
I don't think we can top that. Ladies and gentlemen, Geezer Butler. Thank you so much. I think that.